Welcome, Corey Nielsen Fitness here, throwing out a video for you guys of some educational material. A couple weeks ago I put out part one of this. It was about this book I read called Mindless Eating. And it's a really interesting book. It's about how your psychology and the way you grew up and all these little intricacies in your life, like the way your plates look and how they decorate it and the different ways that we basically are slaves of mindless eating and we don't even realize that it's happening. So this is the second part to that series. One of the things I went over last time in part one at the end there was about how when you buy bigger bags of food from like Costco or Sam's Club because you get it in a higher quantity, that you just end up eating more because we are so bad at counting calories, okay, in our system, like our body telling us when we're full sort of a thing. We're really bad at counting calories. And so when you buy bigger bags or bigger products, then you end up eating more because one of your main cues that they found is that you look at how much is left. And so if I start out with more, I have a lot more to eat. If I start out with less, I have a lot less to eat and I end up eating less. So one of the things that they did say though is that you can still buy from those places, but then break up the content. So put it into separate bags so that you don't see all of it at one time. That way the bag is a lot smaller. You end up eating a little bit of it and then having that cue that says, okay, I've had plenty, I should be done by now. Let's see. So another thing that you can do, they recommend, is basically what they call become an illusionist, where you buy smaller cups and you buy smaller plates. What that does is you end up eating less just because you can't put as much on the plate. Don't leave food laying around like in candy dishes. If it's sitting there, you're going to be tempted, and the more you're going to eat. If it's there, you see it, it's going to give you a trigger, and you're going to eat it. They did a study with some secretaries, and it was kind of interesting. The way where they placed the candy dishes really dictated how much these ladies were eating. And the closer it was to their desk, the more they ate. If it was further away, then they ate less of it. So don't leave candy dishes sitting around because you're going to be tempted and you're going to be eating that stuff. Let's see. So basically you'll eat less if it's inconvenient. So something to talk about is changing your environment and making it more convenient for you to eat less, or I should say making it inconvenient for you to eat more. Eating with others influences how much and the speed at which we eat. It's really interesting. The people that you hang around, when we're in a social setting, they kind of dictate and someone sets the pace at how quickly we're eating and how much we're eating. And subconsciously, this is that mindless eating, we don't even realize that it's happening. So what they found is that if you eat by yourself, that is the normal range is what they call that. I don't even know what the normal range is, but that's what they did. With one other person, the average person ate 35% more. Okay, if you ate with one other person. If you ate with 4 people, the average person ate 75% more. And then if you ate with 7 people, the average person ate 96% more. So what this goes to show is that when you're in a social setting and you're around people and having a good time and talking and there's food sitting in front of you, then we just eat all of it. You just don't even realize it. And someone at the table is kind of setting the pace and dictating how much others are eating, and then we just kind of go with the flow on it. So keep that in mind. Is there a solution to that? I'm sure there is. It didn't really go over one surrounding that. The more television a person watches, the higher their expected weight is. And that's given, right? That's obvious. Why is that? You just don't move. You're on the couch, you start having a craving, and you eat more. So not only are you not burning calories, but you're also eating more because more than likely the fridge is within walking distance and you get bored, and then that triggers in your mind to want to do something or create some pleasure in your head, and then you start eating. So that's obvious, right? Anyone would know that. So the better the food looks, say like artsy drizzle of sauce or nice looking plates, the higher expectation from us that the food will taste good. And actually, they've done many studies that they referenced in here. The better it looks, the better the presentation is, the more your expectation is that the food is going to taste good and that you believe it actually does taste better. And so they did studies where it was the same exact food, but they decorated it differently, and the appearance of the food was completely different. People thought that the better looking one tasted a lot better compared to the other one. So it's funny how our mind kind of just plays a trick on us. If we expect it to taste better, then it's going to taste better. The more money we spend on a food item, the better it tastes in our mind. So if it's a higher quality, more expensive, then we believe it's going to taste better, and then it ends up tasting better. This was really interesting. We learn our food preferences from childhood. They talk about most of your food preferences come from when you were a child, unless you really try to overcome those and change them in your adulthood. It was really interesting how they talk about, you hear a lot of people say, I can't get my kid to eat vegetables. And the fact is that kids will eat what you give them, basically, right? I mean, if you force them into it. I don't have children, do keep that in mind. But what they said to do was, instead of calling it broccoli, call it power broccoli. And then you can also talk about the benefits to a food item, like carrots are good for your vision. So tell your kid, we're eating carrots because it's going to help you see better. Or, broccoli is going to help your immune system and make you feel better. We call it power broccoli. And then they buy into eating it, and they believe it tastes better and that it's good for their body, so they end up eating it. Give snacks to kids in little baggies. Don't let them see a refill is even possible. So what you're doing is, you don't even want them to think there's a refill. You go ahead and separate it into small little packages. You give them that small package, and there is no more. That's all that you get. So that was interesting. They describe more studies on how bad we are at estimating calories while eating, and they used the examples of Subway and McDonald's. And they went ahead and they pulled people from Subway and McDonald's after they'd eaten and asked them, what did you eat and how many calories did you eat? And in both cases, people were off by a fair amount of calories. So it just goes to show you, most of us have no clue how many calories we're eating. We're really bad at counting calories, and our body is really bad at estimating how many calories we've been eating. One thing that I believe before I read this book is that food is not black or white. It's not healthy, and it's not healthy or not healthy. Okay, it's not so black and white. You've got items that are semi-healthy, some items that you can have at points throughout the week within reason that aren't going to give you negative side effects that a lot of people would say that that's unhealthy. So you don't want to think of food as black and white. We do take the health benefits beyond nutritional value as healthy, and we end up eating more though. So most people, if they deem it as a healthy item, then they convince themselves that because it's healthy, they can eat more. So that's interesting. Low fat doesn't mean healthy or give you an excuse to eat more. Calories do matter. Calories are what matters. And so in like the late 80s or the early 90s, the low fat trend came in, and just because it's low fat doesn't mean that you can eat more. It also doesn't mean that it's lower calorie. They can substitute the fat with sugar, is what they tend to substitute it with. And then a lot of the time the low fat version and the regular version are the same amount of calories. So be conscious of that. Look at the nutritional ingredients. I said this a while ago. I put out this post that drinking ice cold beverages actually burns more calories because your body has to expend the energy to warm it up. So they gave an example of 64 ounces of water would burn an average of around 70 more calories a day just from your body having to warm up those liquids. So that's a cool little tip and trick to get you to burn a little bit more calories without really even having to do anything. It referenced how most people don't pay attention to serving sizes on labels. How we may look at the calories and then not even realize that there's like 4 servings in there. We eat it all and we think it's 200 calories when it's 800 calories. So you have to be really conscious of the serving sizes and the way that these marketers are marketing to us, because that's exactly what it is. does anyone really a 20-ounce Coke? It's got 2 serving sizes. What do you drink half of it and you give the other half to someone else? No, it's their way of tricking you and hoping that you really don't pay attention to what's going on. Let's see. Food and truly believe. Yeah, I pretty much went over that. People eating low-fat granola ate 21% more than people eating Subway because it's healthy. They rewarded themselves with mayo, cheese, chips, and cookies. So what they found is people who eat at Subway, they said, hey, I'm eating healthy food. So they went ahead and got themselves mayonnaise, cheese, chips, and cookies, and maybe even a soda. And in the end, you didn't help yourself at all. So you don't want to reason with yourself that just because you're eating healthy, that gives you freedom to go ahead and eat unhealthy items, right? And that's something that they found. So that's the end of the book. It was really interesting for me to start to see some of the psychology aspects and things that we do, we don't even realize it's going on. And then the way that we're being marketed to, because these companies know what's going on, know what makes us tick, know your tendencies and patterns, and so they market to us a certain way. So realize that you are being tricked and not even realizing it. Okay, you really are, and we all are. Just the way that the food is presented to us or packaged to us, or the price point, a lot of different things that they can do to it, where we are being tricked, and a lot of the time we're not even realizing it. So I hope that this has been educational for you. That's my goal on this video. The book was called Mindless Eating if you want to check it out. And this has been Corey Nielsen Fitness, educating you every day.